Welcome in another episode of Unfiltered. We are live here on a Friday night. As always, good to have you. You can catch up with us a number of ways: Apple, Spotify, everywhere you get your podcasts. You can get to us on the artist formerly known as Twitter, X, if you will, at Casey Stern. Give a follow. Jump up into the bio. Follow through to the YouTube channel, and we're now on Instagram as well. At Unfiltered with Casey Stern is always represented by Bet Online, your number one source for all your sports betting needs. All the lines, including baseball, basketball, boxing, golf, and more. Fastest and easiest way to get your wagers, live betting, favorite casino and card games. They're all available right now, right from your phone, or you can use the mobile device and your website. All are applicable. Sign up today. Do this, though. Use the promo code BELIEVE. It's BLEAV. You'll get a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. It is Bet Online where the game starts. I want to get into a couple of things, but mainly talk about this play, this slide with Reese Hoskins and Jeff McNeil. Clearly, you're going to expect me, because, look, end of the day, that's an 86 plaque behind me, because I am not afraid to admit, and never have been, my fandom for the New York Mets since I'm about 5 years old, that this was the dirtiest play that has ever been and has ever happened. But I'm here to call it like I see it. And if the question is, was it a dirty slide? The answer is probably way closer to no than it is to yes. First of all, it is a legal slide by the letter of the law. Now, here's the thing. Depending upon how old you are, this is the way baseball used to always be played. This is the baseball. Now, when I say I don't mean Jeff McNeil getting knocked on his keister and you worrying about his leg and his knee. I don't mean somebody getting taken out and, heaven forbid, injured, especially in the first game of the season. And you're dealing with not McNeil, but the other one, Reese Hoskins, who was out all of last year, right? So I don't mean that, but I mean the fact that takeout slides and hard baseball slides and hard baseball plays at second base, and we used to have them at home plate too. Kids, go look it up. Pre-Cousins and Posey. Kids, go look it up. Pre-Chase Utley, speaking of the Mets, and Ruben Tejada. We used to have this at second base. This used to be a good hard-nosed baseball play. Now, it doesn't mean it was perfect. So let's dig into it. Was it legal? Yes, it's legal. If you look at the way that he slid, and you could see in the video his arm reach back, he is able to hold on to the bag. So that is key. The other part of this that I think you have to kind of look at, and really the toughest part to judge, is when we ask the question, was the slide late? There's no timer. There's no specific time where you could sit there in that moment when it's live and happening, whether you're a shortstop or second baseman on the bag or a base runner there. It's like when you ask somebody that's sitting there, a linebacker, to run after a wide receiver and they go hit him in the wrong spot. And when that's happening at like 100 miles an hour, it's a lot easier to do and say when you're at home on the couch slowing it down than you are in that moment. Was the slide late? That's where you have the most egregious question. It probably was a bit late if you look at it and you're breaking it down. But I do want to touch on this part that needs to be discussed. And again, I like Jeff McNeil. I like the Mets. I didn't love the crybaby stuff with Hoskins. It is what it is. I get it, right? Not my favorite thing, if I'm being honest. I'd rather you go out there and if the guy is screaming at you, go run up to him and hit him. And I'm not saying that that's great either, but I'm just saying, at least where I sit, being honest with you, they give me the crybaby nonsense because to me that makes you look like a crybaby, if I'm being fair. But the slide itself, part of this is Jeff McNeil is afterwards sitting there being questioned by the media. And I don't have the direct quote in front of me, but you can get it. It's all over the place, where he's sitting there and basically saying that he was not trying to get a double play. Yet the ball dropped. They gave him the out anyway at second base, but the ball dropped in a transfer. Now, I watched this play several times over. You can go do the same thing. You tell me he's not thinking about. Now, I didn't say he was for sure going to, because we can't play that out because the ball dropped and he got, taken out by the slide. But it certainly looked to me like he was about to try and turn a double play, or at least was very much thinking about it. So for me, look, hindsight's 2020. I get the moment. But for Jeff McNeil, if we're being fair, look, I'm a Met guy, all right? But if he's going to go after the game and say, well, I wasn't thinking about turning the double play, well, I'm sorry, bro. We got the video. It looks like you were thinking about turning the double play because you dropped the ball in the transfer. You can't tell me, I feel like in Few Good Men, who can I have a copy of the transfer order? We got a copy of the transfer order, and you were trying to go ahead and make a transfer and turn the double play. So I think what happened here, if we're being fair and we're being honest, you got Rhys Hoskins, history with the Mets, and now, by the way, Philly for life for Philly fans who love him even more now, even though he did this on the Brewers. But you got the history with Rhys Hoskins and the Mets. That always plays into it. It plays into it here. Jeff McNeil, well aware of it. Those two guys are not friends and sharing dinner and breaking bread anytime soon. And you got Jeff McNeil, who was surprised, especially on the back leg where he got taken out in that spot. And in that moment, all of us are going to freak out. It's like you're not planning on getting in a fight today, but if somebody hits you in the face, boom, your instinct may be to go hit him back. Somebody goes and takes you out in a slide, you're probably going to get up and start screaming at him. That's just the way it is. I don't think even Rhys Hoskins blames Jeff McNeil for that. If you saw his comments, he said he kind of laid there for a minute, let him vent it out in the heat of the moment, right? I understand that part. I get it's like when somebody gets hit by a pitch, whether we understand it, it's part of baseball because somebody got knocked down or whatever and they hit him in the right spot, or if it's a guy who just loses control at 93 miles an hour all the way up to 98, heaven forbid, 100, and hits somebody in the wrong spot, you get hit that way, any part of your body at 95 miles an hour. I can't imagine it. I don't want it at 35 miles an hour, but I'd freak out. At 95, probably ludicrous speed to freak out. So I get that. But that's what happened here. This was a little bit of a late for sure takeout slide, an old school baseball play that still was within the legality because he held onto the bag. And then he got, Jeff McNeil freaking out, kind of understandably. And that really probably should have been the end of it. But we can't go at the end and then go back when we've got video and tell me you're not trying to turn the double play when it's in a transfer. I mean, you tell me what I'm not seeing. I do wear glasses. I'm not wearing them now. And I didn't stay at a Holiday Inn Express last night, but I feel smart enough to know he was trying to, get the transfer order over to first base. Part of the problem is with these plays at second and the plays at home still with blocking the plate is that the players all still universally don't really understand exactly where the lines are drawn or what is supposed to happen. And I'm not blaming them. I'm blaming the fact that the umpiring all the way up to the replay booth seemingly seems to handle all these situations differently. And the fact that really nobody understands exactly the way it's written or the letter of the law, if you will. And I think that was part of this here. It's not the dirtiest play anyone's ever seen. I don't think Rhys Hoskins is the dirtiest player anyone's ever seen. And that's coming from a Met guy. So I'm probably bringing some levity to some. To others, you're going to ping me with negative tweets and tell me that I'm an ass. And that's fine too. But a little bit of a late slide. It was a legal play. And it probably was a little bit over-exaggerated on the back end by McNeil. And I think if he watches it back and looks at it, you're probably going to have a problem with it. Look, could it have been avoided? You want to say that? Hey, could have been avoided. Did Rhys Hoskins have to do it? No, he didn't have to do it. But it's an old school baseball play, and I always hedge towards old school baseball. The good part is nobody got hurt, which obviously is the most important thing. The only thing that did get hurt was the Mets offense. They only got one hit, and you're going to need a little bit more than that. 0-1 for the darlings of opening day for the Mets, but I think the season will certainly be better than we saw today. In the National League East, staying with that, just a couple other notes. The Philadelphia Phillies, Zach Wheeler and Spencer Strider, that is your two Cy Young candidates, right? Maybe the top two National League. If you're going to get 6 scoreless innings from Zach Wheeler, you can't give up, how many was it? 9 runs in the bullpen? I think they did that. It was a Jason Stark. I saw somebody had that. They did it 3 times all last year. Not a great way to start the season for Rhys Hoskins' former team to go ahead and give up 7 runs in an 8th inning and 9 in a bullpen when Wheeler shuts down and dominates a Braves lineup that, oh, by the way, in case you haven't noticed, difficult to do that too. So that's something to watch in terms of the bullpen, because if that is an issue for Philadelphia, it's going to be an issue in the division for them to keep within range of a Braves team that is stacked. Speaking of stacked, lastly, I've been on the Orioles talking about how all in I am. I think they should be one of the favorites in the World Series. I think they should be the clear favorite in the American League East. Not really understanding what is going on with the confusion of how they got there last year, and been saying that maybe the dandy of all the bunch of the young kids, and maybe the rookie of the year when he gets here this year, we didn't even see yet what we saw today, Jackson Holliday, first AAA at bat, was a homer. So far, so good. Speaking of homers, yeah, I can be one, but not all the time. It's you got to be unbiased. Late slide, yes. Egregious, probably not. Dirty play, I don't think so. Your take, let me know. We always take you around the league and other sports, even do some life. We got everything here. It's Unfiltered, presented by our good